Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Sorry we had to switch nights, but we were traveling last night and just couldn't pull it off. So thanks for shifting and changing. We didn't want to let an opportunity go by. We still want to be able to answer your questions. So go ahead and unmute yourself or type in and fire away.
And go ahead, Lolly, then Deborah.
Hey, Lolly.
Hey. Um, so few things. So we talked about on the weekend, which was an amazing class. At the end of the weekend, I mentioned that I had a headache and you told me what to do with that. So that was amazing because you said it has to, I thought it was related to heat. You told me that you started with telling me to put marjoram because of a trigger point.
Right.
Amazing. So the
Yeah.
minute I did that, I actually worked with the Marjoram Supreme Body Tonic. I could
Perfect.
totally feel how it was connecting to that
Yeah.
point.
Yeah.
So it took a little bit of time, but it's fine. So thank you.
But like, so what I would say about that is that if it's a trigger point, I would still kind of work it for a little bit because you've deactivated it somewhat. But like anytime that the trigger point begins to refer pain to areas, even if you calm it down, like keep calming it down. Like you want to kind of keep taking it deeper and deeper. So, like you might feel fine, but you sleep funny or you hold your head in a weird way, like while you're doing the computer or who knows. And if that area is already predisposed to a trigger point, it will take not as much effort for it to get activated again. And
which
so even though you have relief, like keep treating it for a little bit, just so you kind of just knock it out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I notice it kind of starts creeping in again, and I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, I need to. So basically, so keep working with the marjoram.
Yeah. Marjoram, you can use, I mean, you can rotate them around. I like marjoram just because for one, it's antispasmodic. It does increase blood flow. It takes some of the tension out of the spine. And if it was in other places, I still might use marjoram, but helichrysum could work, trigger point blend can work. Sometimes ginger will work, black pepper will work. The nature of trigger points is it's not just a knot. There is some neurological dysfunction. There's usually some lymphatic stagnation. There's contraction in the muscle tissue, and there's like a fascial kind of lesion of sorts. And so you have like multiple things happening. And so sometimes I'll even just keep rotating what I put on an area, but I keep putting something on that area.
Okay.
And the work that we did on the weekend, especially with the catabolic state and the anabolic state, both of those are very good at helping to reduce the precursors to having trigger points in the body. It's really like we kind of keep coming down to of if you step away from the symptoms, that your body's either regenerating or degenerating, and trigger point activity is something that we all have. We all have something somewhere, and that the more that we reduce it, our body functions better, our nervous system functions better, we recover better, we sleep better, but also it's very impactful on the cognitive functions. Because there's even actually a part that has to do with the glands and the endocrine system. And so the more that you treat all these different aspects that we're calling vibrational healing, there's the energetic side and then there was the physical side. The more that you treat that, the more that your body, you'll notice, will respond to normal treatment, but you'll notice that even how you interact with people and the environment. And for me, like I'll notice that like I have more energy, I get up and do more stuff, I don't procrastinate as much. I'm getting stuff done. Like if I'm tired, I recover faster. If I hurt something, my body is responding and recovering faster. Like everything just starts getting better. And it's just because everything regenerates better. And there's those times where it's just like, I don't have enough juice in my legs to go around the park again for this difficulty or this situation. Like really what is being said there is I'm in a state of degeneration and I don't have the mojo to pull this off, so to speak. And so, fatigue happens, being tired happens, injuries happen. And you do the normal things, you sleep it off, you do this, you do whatever. But like when you're not quite recovering and the symptoms aren't quite going away, and like those kinds of things are happening, your body is degenerating a little bit. You're just not getting into that place of that anabolic state. And I know I said this, but I think I want to kind of keep saying this. In the anabolic state, your nervous system regenerates, your immune system regenerates, your endocrine system regenerates, and the muscles regenerate. But the part that regenerates is the trigger point activity. And so that is a byproduct of the immune system, the endocrine system, and the nervous system. How well they're functioning or how poorly they're functioning will dictate what happens in the muscle and will dictate the trigger point activity. And be it that it's from an injury, be it that it's from stress, be it that it's from like a hormonal imbalance or neurological pain, or you have some compromised immune system or lymphatic issue, whatever it is, all of those things are reflected in the trigger point activity. And so you can almost gauge like the state of regeneration by how much trigger point activity is happening. And we're always going to have some. I don't think we get to be completely immune from it, but we want it to be very minimal, right? Very, very minimal. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. And I was actually wondering if really because I did all the processes in class, maybe that's also why all of a sudden when I worked on it, it worked so fast.
Oh, I'm sure that contributed.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
I'm sure that
yeah.
contributed. Yeah,
So thank you. And then the other thing
yeah.
you told me to do, which I actually did, even though I wasn't sure if it really was taking schizandra
Yes.
for the heat, and which I did that a few times, and now I kind of stopped because I realize it's not really heat related. But I was kind of wondering
But
why.
it might not be heat related, but one of the things with schizandra, very good and supportive of the immune system. And schizandra is very good for releasing and hydrating the fascia, which would contribute also to trigger point activity. So it helps you to get into deeper sleep. And so even though it might not be exactly like a symptom oriented reason why to do it, which is why we actually talked about it in the first place. Like I was like,
Yeah.
if it's heat or whatever, but still, if we go back to the state of regeneration, degeneration, it still contributes to that. And so, I mean, I still think that probably played somewhat of a factor, somewhat of a role. I don't take Schizandra all the time, but like when my body is starting to like I'm feeling the trigger points in my bad shoulder or my back or something, it's one of the things I throw in the mix. And again, even then, I might not do it daily, but the way that fascia constricts and becomes a problem is the tissue is dehydrated. And the way that you release it is you hydrate the tissue. And Schizandra is all about hydrating the tissue, hydrating the mucous membranes, hydrating everything so that the body functions better, including the nervous system. And so, it just makes everything function better. It's like in the old school way of talking about medical aromatherapy, Schizandra wasn't on the table back then, because it's been since CO2s really have hit, and there are some steam distillations of Schizandra, but back in the old days, when we would talk about, different approaches, there's a thing called terrain treatments, and it's a different way of talking about vibration, but it's usually about targeting certain aspects of regeneration, like a very good terrain treatment is like a Ravensara, using Ravensara either topically or internally, or it's okay for treating some specific things, but it's really good for putting the body in a better place to heal. And I would put schizandra in that. Like schizandra, by itself, can treat some things in a symptomatic way, but as far as putting the body in a better place so the body can heal itself, schizandra is very good at.
Thank you. Because yeah, I was missing that piece of like,
Yeah.
and it's fine. I took it and I can
Yeah.
continue doing that. But I was like, okay, I want to know
Yeah.
why. And now it's making sense because even
Yeah.
for the eyes, for dry eyes, that's
Dry
why.
eyes, dry
Mm-hmm.
sinuses, dry
Yeah.
lungs,
Mm-hmm.
even if the lungs, like they might not be dry, but they might be full of mucus. And one of the ways to like push the mucus out is to moisten the respiratory tract, for example. And because of that, it starts moving the mucus. Like sometimes that mucus is there to protect dry membranes. And so you hydrate it so that you get blood to it, you get whatever moisture you can get to it, so that the body can let go of the mucus. Because if it's protecting something that's dry, as hard as you try to push it out, your body was like, no, we're just going to double down because we need it. And so it won't respond. But if you moisten those areas, you increase blood. I mean, it's even the idea of rosemary verbena for like chronic sinus issues. For one, it's good for reducing the stress levels in the digestive system, respiratory tract, all those kinds of things. It gives tone to certain parts of the nervous system, but more than anything, it increases blood to the mucous membranes of the sinuses, to the head and the sinuses. So it's another way of hydrating that tissue. And so between the two, it's a way to try to tackle difficult sinus issues where you're not just trying to suppress a symptom, you're trying to help the body heal it so that it just resolves.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, you're so welcome.
And then another question as a follow-up is we talked last week about a job that I was hoping to get, which doesn't look like it's happening unless it will happen last minute. So I was doing all the things. So I did the materialization breath with, you said cinnamon. So I did that with cassia for a while. Then I switched to cinnamon. I was doing, and you also said to do like hyssop or Solomon's hyssop, going between the body and the situation. So I figured that's the one that I'm putting my attention on, my awareness on my front solar plexus, and then I'm moving to the front heart, and I'm thinking of the other person or the situation.
Sure.
Is that
Yeah.
okay? So I did that. But yeah, and it doesn't feel. Oh, and I also did Kriya Sakti. And I feel better. Like I'm more like it feels now that if something is not working out, it's not like I'm not the one who's sabotaging it, but
Right. Because things sometimes they work, sometimes they don't, but we don't want to be uh our own worst obstacle, which was my middle name when I was young.
yeah. So I'm wondering if there's any point in keep doing that, or is it one of those like doing the materialization breath with something else just to bring whatever opportunities in, or just let go? Or
Well, if you're on the other side of that now and you're not sure that it's going to happen, like one of the things that you could do just as prevention for next time, not necessarily that situation, but you're just like, had bad experiences in the past. Like another way of saying that is impressions, like when you're doing meditation, all of a sudden you have these weird things that kind of come up in your head, and you have memories of a situation or you have something from the past. Even though you might be having different experiences now, we are still impacted quite substantially by our past experiences, not so much about the experiences themselves, but the impressions that the experiences have left on us. So you might be having a very nice experience in the job, but you're like, but I had 20 years of it really not being very nice, right? And so one of the ways that you can hope to resolve that is just do the segment on from the vibrational healing class that's just about the vibration. So on the first day it was segment 2 where you work that. And you could do the same thing, like if you wanted to mix it up. Like the blend vibration is literally about overcoming obstacles, like learning, overcoming obstacles, innovating. It's all about that. If you wanted to mix it up, you would do the same process, the same steps, but you could do poplar balsam instead. Poplar balsam is used as an anointing oil in certain traditions, and part of why it's used is to diminish the impressions of your past. Like you had bad experiences, you were suffering, you had a bad thing happen. Even if you spent 20 years maybe not behaving well, and now you got your act together, there's still that impression of, but yeah, I used to do this, I used to do that, or this might happen, that might happen. All of those are like impressions, and you can diminish it either with vibrational healing or with the poplar balsam.
Okay. And then is there
That's how I use poplar balsam a lot.
Mhm.
Poplar balsam will help you to expand your awareness. It helps to reduce the like the impressions, and poplar balsam hopes to stimulate endorphins, which helps you to move past the pain of whatever it is.
Okay.
Yeah, I made a blend a long time ago. It was in a couple of classes, but remember King of Pain? Isn't that what it was? Yeah, that was all to enhance the properties of poplar balsam. And um, you know, we talked about it a little bit when we were in those classes, but like that's what that was all about, was endorphins, expansion, and reducing the impressions that we've accumulated through the years,
Mhm. And there's no substitute. Like I actually don't have poplar balsam. I have it in a
But you have
spray.
vibration. You have
Yeah,
vibration.
definitely.
Yeah, just use vibration.
And I ordered more from the
Yeah, yeah.
vibration because yeah.
Oh, that's right. You poured it out on your shirt. Yeah,
Uh-huh. Yeah,
yeah,
exactly that.
yeah. I think I'm going to start a club, like where we're.
Yeah, that was really intense. And you know what? Even when we did that earlier, like when was it? Like an hour ago, half an hour ago, from all the other stuff that we did, this one for me was the most powerful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh, tonight
Yeah.
one. Yeah,
Yeah, it's
yeah,
really so yes, I can work with that. Okay.
yeah, yeah. You liked
Okay.
it too. Yeah.
Yeah. And then is this, so that's pretty much all I can do right now. I mean, there's still time and it can still work out, but I don't know if it's maybe for me, like
Yeah,
let go and make
and
sure that
like sometimes things are going to work and then they don't, and then things come out of the air and fall in your lap. I would just keep moving forward, and that's kind of the nature of things. Is especially when you're going from having to get a job to a job to a job to a job.
yeah.
Things it's like you're doing deals all the time, and the deals
Yeah.
don't always pan out, and they usually fall apart like right before they're either going to work or they're not going to work,
Yes.
usually right at the very end. So you gear up and then
Yeah.
so that's why I always say, like, you know of course you want to take the work, but at the same time, if something else comes your way and steals you away from that, okay, so be it.
And,
Yeah,
and Exactly. And even with this one, it was like a once a week type of thing. So I would have to do other jobs, other things. So I
Right,
would still have to clean out whatever I have
right.
with other things. Okay, so I'll keep working on that. And just one last question, because
Hmm.
yeah, cinnamon, and you mentioned to work with cinnamon, and we talked about that before. Cinnamon and cassia for something like that with the materialization breath, basically the same, and the only difference would be cassia and the blood thinning properties.
Oh, for materialization, there is
Mhm.
really no difference.
For okay, so
Yeah,
for this specific thing, for being more like thick
yeah.
skinned
Either
and
way
not,
will work. Yeah, either
same
way.
difference.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. Thank you. And yeah, and I know it's a shorter session, so I'll skip the other questions for tonight.
Okay,
Okay.
okay.
Thank you so much.
You're so welcome.
And then go ahead, Deborah, then Chris.
Hey, Deborah.
Hi, Greg.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good, thanks. I just wanted to emphasize how powerful the last, on Thursday, the teaching you had with the Dorje.
Oh, good. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Uh, that was really, really powerful. And I'm looking forward to doing more of that kind of work. There was one thing that kind of came out of it. There was my Dorje has a really sharp point on it. It's almost
Is it a Phurba or a Dorje?
a Phurba,
Phurba.
sorry.
Gotcha.
Um, and it actually, when I put it between my eyebrows, it left like swelling for a couple of days that turned into something else. Um, so it,
Wow, really? Were you pressing very hard
uh,
or just the
no,
energy coming out?
I think it's just actually the point on that thing is so sharp.
Yeah.
Um,
So maybe like either just barely touch it, or maybe if that's an issue, like just stick it right in front and maybe don't touch it directly.
okay. The
Yeah.
other thing I was going to ask is, could I just put like a little um, tissue or something?
Yeah, if that works. Sure.
Okay, just
Yeah.
something between it and my skin.
Yeah, sure, sure.
Because it didn't affect me anywhere else that we used it, just
Okay.
right there.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, I don't know. Okay, but so that was more intense than the other work that I've done, and I'm hoping that there'll be more like that. That
Yeah.
was
So right now we're on a pace of like we do a Kartika one Thursday, we do a Purba, we do Dorje and Onk, and then we do the Manjushri sword. So every 4 weeks we're just cycling through.
yeah. But I've been on your um, worked with that tool once before, and it wasn't as powerful as this one was. And this one was something that I don't think that I could really repeat myself, except for that I remember like the locations which
Mhm.
we used. Is it meant to be something that we do on our own, or
You can do it on your own, but it's not necessarily like a technique how you go step one, step two, step three.
yeah?
It's a little bit like following that animal through the forest and you're just like watching the tracks. And so a lot of times with a mystical practice like that, you'll do it one time and you'll have an amazing experience. And then the next time you do it and you're like,
Gotcha.
and so it's good to like explore different things that you might be going after and then kind of mixing up how you approach it. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
very helpful. Thank
yeah.
you.
You're so welcome.
And then go ahead, Chris, then Troy.
Hey, Chris.
Hey, thanks, Sam. Hey, Greg.
Hey, hey.
I've been searching my notes, and I can't find anything on the blend detachment. How would you use it? What protocol should I use if it's addressing detachment from being abandoned, the heartache of it, the anger from it
Is it for you or for a client?
for a client?
Give me a little bit more info.
So she's been married 10 years, and
Right?
all she just lost her best friend, buried her best friend that day, and then her husband told her in the afternoon that he's going back to his ex-wife.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, heavy stuff. So I'm sending her, I found something on the sadness and grief
Right.
blend, and I wanted to send her the detachment too.
So, the sadness and grief, yeah, like either the blend or ginger lily, either one of those would be
Does
good.
that have does that have ginger lily in it?
Sadness and grief, no,
Ginger.
it's cypress, rose, and marjoram, and there's something else in it, but
Mm,
it's, I mean, it's like rose that's augmented with other things. Yeah.
gotcha.
And so definitely with that. And that would be, Ming Men back heart crown for that. Or just with ginger lily, a lot of times you can even just have the person inhale it and it will do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then with the detachment for that situation, I would do sex, heart, throat, crown. Yeah.
Throat crown. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Any time that you're looking at detachment, there's mental detachments and things, but really you're looking at the detachment is the sex chakra, and not because it's about sex or a partner or something, but the sex chakra is the foundation for the physical world, and it's how we socially interact. It's where spirit and matter mixes, and so when you have situations like this where it sounded like she had a really bad day, like it's
Yeah.
all that stuff's
Right.
happening, and
Everything collided at once.
yeah, and just I would have her do several cycles on the sex, heart, throat, crown, just over and over and over again. And some of it is, she lost her best friend. She has this situation with the husband. It then also makes her feel certain things about herself.
Hmm.
Like there's so many things all wrapped up into that I would many, many, many cycles of that.
Like have her do that at night, right?
I would
Just
have her do it at night. You might even want to give her like a little bit of tarragon or something, just to, because there's the shock of losing a friend, there's the shock of losing the husband, there's the shock of like what happened and why that happened with the husband. There's going to
yeah.
be displacement in her life because she's not with or husband or partner, whoever that was.
Hmm.
Um, there,
Husband.
yeah. So there's going to be displacement in her life because of the thing going on with the split. It's going to be a thing that it's like getting into a car accident. It's like you just because the symptoms are there doesn't mean that it hasn't rocked you at your core.
Mm,
And I would say treat the symptoms, but there's something more at the core that's going to need addressing. Like, and at first it's going to be just the shock of it all, like the emotional ups and downs. And
mm,
yes, there's grief, and yes, she has to detach, but she also has to try to get to a place where, she's not feeling injured every day, and that's going to take a little bit.
yeah.
That's for anybody. That would take a little bit. And
Yeah.
the sooner she can get there, the better. But yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I
Boy,
thought
I'm
about
sorry to
the
hear
hair.
that. That
I
that's
know, right? So
that's a
so
really hard thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
right. Thought about the tarragon, but I don't have any
Do you have
that I
like
can send.
benzoin, or you have a little bit of rose? Like those could be substitutes.
I
Uh,
have benzoin. I think I just ordered that and
yeah.
just need
You
to
put a
find.
little
Okay,
tiny bit
benzoin.
yeah, a little benzoin would work. Yeah.
Thank you. I had another question. Let me remember. Shoot, just escaped me. So, remember my coworker Greg, the one that whose wound wouldn't close? So it finally closed. She came on one of the sessions here and
Oh,
talked
yeah, yeah, yeah,
about,
yeah. I remember. Yeah.
right? Yeah, so she was using marjoram because she was having a hard time sleeping, and it made her um, better sleep. It gave her
Oh,
better
good.
sleep.
Yeah.
However, she just shared recently because she got into a car accident. I mean, the things that happened to this gal is just one after the other. Got into a car accident, and I told her, remember, you have marjoram, just put that on your body to help it, kind of unwind from the trauma. And she says, when I use that in the morning, I get a stiff neck. I said, huh, what, do you know what that's about, Greg?
No.
I
She
said,
gets
maybe you're just sleeping too deeply. You haven't slept before.
she gets a
Um,
stiff neck. It could be either way. So like when she wakes up, her neck is stiff.
yeah, when she uses marjoram.
Yeah. That's probably I think you nailed it. That's probably sleep position.
Yeah, it's
Or
almost like
sometimes just not even moving during the night.
that's
'Cause
what I said. You're
yeah, it
probably
should
not
be the
moving.
opposite effect. Yeah,
Yeah,
it should be the opposite. So
yeah. Okay. One last question. So
Mhm.
that gal that we're working on, I saw her this weekend, and there's
which
lightness. Oh,
which
the depression gal, um, the one who's severely depressed.
oh yeah. The one that
Yeah,
we talked about for a little bit.
yeah,
Right. Okay. Yeah.
yeah. So there was lightness in her step for the first time,
Good.
and there's some light in her eyes, almost like a spark of joy. Do you mind taking a look at her?
Sure.
I mean, it's still up and down,
Yeah.
and it's going to be for a little bit.
I think if I remember right, we were just focused on the aura.
The aura and the arms and legs.
Right. I would stick with that for a little while. Like the
Okay.
aura is a bit better, but it's still a little bit of a thing. Yeah.
It's almost like her basic chakra would, basic solar and the spleen would hold the charge for about 2 or 3 days and become depleted again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, some of that is the field is it's better, but it still needs work.
Yeah.
And then the arms and legs are super congested.
Still super. Okay.
Yeah. So that's the thing. I think I told you that like I've had clients where I just worked on their aura for a very long time, very
Yeah.
long time. Because like anything that I would do, nothing worked.
Hmm.
And so you either look at it's an aura issue or a vibration issue, like the regeneration. And if you can tell that the aura is not in very good shape, even if you try to treat the vibration will have the body throw things off. But if the field is really dirty,
Mm-hmm.
then it just throws it into something where it can't get expelled out and it just physicalizes again. And so like you said, you're having days where like she's going good for 2 or 3 days, which is an improvement, but still her body can't push out that old energy enough, and so she reabsorbs it. So I would
Mm-hmm.
still just keep like pounding on that aura.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Keep me posted on that. I'm very curious.
I will. Thank you so much.
Here's all.
And then go ahead, Troy.
Hey, Troy.
Hey, Greg.
Hey, how you doing?
Doing all right. My shoulder's still bugging me a lot. And then I've just been feeling just kind of on the struggle bus.
Yeah.
Um,
We don't have to go into details, but that situation that we talked about last time, are
yeah.
you feeling a little bit better about it or about the same, or like where are you at the status? You don't
Kind of
have to give
worse.
details. Just give me what's that?
Kind of worse.
Worse?
Kind of feeling like very frustrated and kind of hopeless about it. And like, I don't know. It just went from like super, super high hopes, like very happy times, to just like crash and burn in the situation. And so I don't know. I kind of was like holding the torch on it
Right.
for like a solid month. In spite of circumstances, and now I'm just feeling like really drained, kind of frustrated, upset, disappointed, and just I don't know, just kind of overwhelmed. I mean, it's not just that one situation, but
Yeah, 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 but
it's just been like a rough year, like
right.
my mom passed, and like my best friend moved away, we've lived in the same city for like 30 years,
Oh wow.
my brother moved away, two other friends moved away, had
And how long ago was it that your mom passed?
she passed the very first of the year,
So
first
you
week of
got a year of dealing with that as well.
Yeah. But it just feels like everybody, like lots of change, and there's lots of good in my life, and a lot of like barometers of like, wow, I've come a long ways, like prosperity is pretty good, and I've come a long way with work and stuff, and I feel fairly excited about my own artwork and everything.
Oh,
And
good.
but the situation and the department that we're talking about, like that's been grinding on me pretty hard.
Yeah.
And then there's just like this feeling of like, where is everybody? Like all my people are gone, like
Right.
nobody's calling or
Yeah.
texting. It's just like a weird feeling.
Yeah. Well, I would say, as far as like people being gone or not interacting as much, uh, out in society, it's a little bit weird. You know what I mean? And there's um, times where there's interaction, and then there's almost these times where like a radio silence happens, but it's almost like a collective one.
I know that's what's like
It's
making it even weirder.
yeah,
Is like
yeah.
I feel like I'm
It's
in
so
like
much a thing now. Like I was talking to uh some people, some friends of mine in the Buddhist tradition, and we were using different verbiage and everything, but they were saying the exact same thing. Like they were saying, like they were verbalizing it, and that's like not tied to like American culture. You know what I mean? Like it's just a thing that's happening. It's probably based on astrology or just the evolution of humanity or something like that. But still, we got to get through it. We got to make life happen and hold things together. You know what I mean? But some of it's not us. Like some of it is like, we're riding the waves, so to speak, as these things play out. You know what I like for you a whole lot is, I'm sure in a couple of different kits you have like a little bottle of poplar balsam.
I was just looking for it because I
Yeah,
heard you talking about it a minute ago. I thought I had a 5 ml floating around, but I can't
you
seem to
probably
find it.
do.
Can't
That,
seem to
that
find
sounds
it.
like something you'd have. And so I would do that whole protocol with the brain, and then the spine, and then the brain and spine, and then the brain and the soles of the feet. And then like do that one time through, and then do your different situations where you focus on it and then come back and feel it in the body, and still doing it both with the poplar. And then after you've kind of visited your situations, go back through and do the brain and spine, that whole process again. And I would go back and forth with that, because the thing is, it will diminish kind of like, I don't know that pain's the right word, but it's probably the best word that we have, like in these situations, because we think of pain as like being physical pain, but it's even like you have your best friend, and you guys, you guys are tight, and you love your best friend, and they're going away because something's evolving in their life. So in a way, it's not bad, but still it feels bad. You know what I mean? Like they're still like, well, I'm not going to get to see you as much. I'm not going to, you know, we're going in different directions a little bit, and it doesn't mean that you guys are not still going to be connected, but that physical connection, that physical interaction is just, even if it's just the potential of like, hey, I could call him and we could have lunch, or we could go out and have a beer or something, whatever it is. All of a sudden that's off the table, and I'm speaking from personal experience. uh it's a little bit of a thing. It's uh you know relationships change over a period of time, and there's parts where they're very nurturing for something, and then as time goes by, they're still nurturing for something, but everybody's in a different place. And just to be able to go with the flow of it, there's still some good things there. They're just going to be different. And I really like the poplar for you. Like I've been working poplar for the last like month or so, and I gotta say, I was like, I don't know why I set it down. Like, oh my God, like it's just, it makes me feel better on a lot of different levels. Yeah. I like that a lot for you. You're going through a lot of change. And, as much as that one situation, that involves the thing outside the country, um, better that you find out that it's not going to work now than later. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm not sure that it's completely done, but if it is, better to find out now.
Yeah. I concur. It's
Yeah.
it's just yeah. Yeah, it's funny you mentioned the Buddhists and talking to them about it, because
Yeah.
I live in the old preacher's house behind this church,
Uh-huh.
and they surround me on
I
two
didn't know
sides.
I didn't know that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Very
And
cool.
then my next door neighbor, which used to be the assistant minister's house, has been Kadampa Buddhist Meditation Center for like 10 years.
Oh wow.
And they just put out a for sale sign. I was like, and even the Buddhists are leaving.
Right. Even them. Ugh. Yeah.
Yeah, I have like three friends that are like
Yeah.
expats now. My
Yeah.
brother and my bestie moved away. The
Yeah.
girl moved away. Like everybody, it
Yeah.
just feels like it feels like in Harry Potter and the Deathly
Yeah.
Hallows. It's like this like heavy feeling where I'm like,
Right.
dude, this is my city and I don't know anybody here. And then like new people like don't seem to be like sliding into the vacant positions. It's just
Right.
like, all
Right.
right.
But you know what it could be? Like I again, I'm speaking from personal, like you're in the process of getting more creative and expressing yourself more artistically, and it might not be that people are the thing that slide in, but like a deeper connection to you and your creative processes. And sometimes it might be that it's making space for you to step into something that, if those things were there, might not have facilitated that to such a degree. Like I have this thing that makes me look like a lunatic, but when like I'll, like when I slipped and fell on the ice and blew my shoulder out, I was laying there and I was like, oh, I just really hurt myself. Something really good's about to happen. And, that sounds like lunacy. Like it just makes me sound psychotic. But in my experiences through life, like a lot of times right before something amazing would happen that I wouldn't do on my own. Like I might want them, but I would never make effort to do it. It usually there was like a painful way of having to let go of something to like bring it in. And it's letting go of something in a way that I would never do on my own. And for me with the shoulder is it was my right shoulder. All of a sudden I couldn't do healing anymore. Like it took a while for me to even be able to lift my shoulder again, lift my arm. And I was already kicking around the idea of like, I was doing 60 sessions a week, and all of a sudden I went from 60 to 0. And I was kicking around the idea of like cutting back, whatever, but instantly I was like, and then something amazing happened in its place. And now I go back and I'm still doing a bunch of sessions. I'm not doing that many, but uh, I had to let it go before I could come back to it again. And sometimes the soul guides us into things that seem like they're gonna suck. And then when you get to the other side of it, you're like, it still sucked, but I like what happened. Like, I liked where I got to, but the process to get there, would have preferred not hurting my shoulder, just like you'd prefer not to have everybody move away and, go in different directions. But at the same time, you guys will come back together again. I mean, that's how yin and yang works. There's expansion, condensation, expansion, and you're going through an expansion phase, which means there's going to be things that like fall away, but when it comes back together, it will come back together. And so, use poplar to ride the wave.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And like when you say like I'm on the struggle bus or I'm having a hard time, it doesn't mean ignore those things. You still try to address them. But like big picture, you're stepping into something that's outside the box, at least for you. Something a little different. I really think it's about your creative process, to be honest. Like whenever I sit and think of you, I see like a kind of creativity coming in that hasn't been there before. I don't always know what that looks like, but it's like I can see a cloud like above your head going, "Excuse me, knock, 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 knock," and you're just needing to tap into it. Yeah.
Okay. Any tips on
I think the poplar will really help you get there.
poplar?
Yeah. Yeah. Normally for creative processes, an oil that's really good for that is mugwort. Mugwort's really good for creative processes. Even if you just do it like on the throat and jaws and back throat. But I would say when you're in your space of doing like your creative processes like kind of in a pure way, I would do that. But right now you're still kind of like dealing with the environment, be it, friends and things and work and, all these other pieces. You're still setting up your altar for creativity, so to speak. You know what I mean? And you're just arranging the altar and putting things in place, and you're kind of taking things off the altar going, this doesn't work for me anymore. Ugh. And I, I don't know about you, but for me, I usually changed kicking and screaming. I like to have my feet on the ground knowing what the next thing is, but it never has worked. And so I always would have to go, well, let's just do this and see what happens. And then when I look back, I was like, oh, I'm so glad I did it. But in the moment, I argued with the guru for like 6 or 9 months when he asked me to do something. Like that's how bad I was. Like now I don't want to do that. I want to do something else. Like every time he saw me, we would have that disagreement. Like that's how hard it was for me. Yeah. I, I would say for me, at one point I just said to myself, I have to honor the fact that I'm having a hard time with this. And I think in my head, I'm not saying this for you, I'm just like sharing what I went through. It's supposed to be this way, it's supposed to be that way, I'm supposed to do this, it's supposed to be easier. Like there was a bunch of supposed tos. And once I let go of the supposed tos, I started kind of flowing in the situation. And I would just, I'm not saying that's what it is, but I would check in with it. Like, am I feeling like this is supposed to happen or that's supposed to happen or it's supposed to be easier? It's supposed to, whatever that might be. I would check in with that.
Okay.
There was a teacher that it wasn't one of my teachers, but it was somebody I used to like to listen to from time to time. And he goes, you should have no shoulds or shouldn'ts or supposed tos or supposed to nots. Like he goes, let go of all of those. And at first I was like, what is he talking about? And then I started like really doing internal inventory. And I was like, almost every situation I had a should or shouldn't. Everyone. I was like, ugh. And the more that like I kind of realized like I think it should be this way or it shouldn't be this way, but really, and it was just a judgment I had in my head. It wasn't based on anything other than something I thought. Yeah. I told you the mantra that Imaho taught me. Did I ever tell you this?
I don't know.
He said, when you have these situations and you have these thoughts arise in your head, he goes, I have this really powerful mantra. And it was irrelevant. And then he laughed hysterically and he said, try it. And I started doing it and I was like, damn, it works. Like I just built things up in my head. And so I would sit and like look at situations and I go, irrelevant, irrelevant, irrelevant. And a lot of times I would still do the task, but like how I got to the end result changed dramatically. And that's what that's about, is it's about, it's like if you think of like materialization or Kriya Shakti, I would like this to happen. And we think about like these are the things that are going to get you there, right? But how you get there is not important. It's about achieving the goal. And so if it's easier than what you think should happen, we'll fight it every step of the way because it's not the way we think it should happen. So embracing the creative process is, this is the result. I'm going to get there. I'm not quite sure how. I'm going to start in a particular way. Who knows what's going to happen? Like say you go, okay, I need to make $5,000 by 2 weeks, and you're trying to do it through work, and you're like, oh, it's not happening. And then, you have somebody give you $5,000 or somebody owed you money or you got an inheritance or whatever it is. You won a lotto ticket and all of a sudden that money dumped in your lap. And it's like that old joke where the guy prays, there's the flood and he's standing on top of the house and he's like, Lord, please help me, please save me, help me from this flood. And a guy in a boat comes by and he goes, hey, jump in the boat. And he's like, no, the Lord's going to save me. And then, another guy in a boat comes by and the water's getting higher and he goes, jump in. He's like, no, Lord's going to save me. Then a helicopter comes by and drops down a ladder and the person says, jump on the ladder. And he's like, no, Lord's going to save me. And then, he waves the helicopter away and then he drowns. And he gets up into heaven and he says, Lord, I prayed, why didn't you help me? And he goes, I sent you 2 boats and a helicopter. Well, what were you waiting for? But it's a silly joke, but at the same time, sometimes if we don't see it in ourselves, you can see it like sometimes when you hear other people say, I'm going to do this, but this has to happen first. But does it really? It's just an idea that we have. It's not necessarily what needs to happen. It's just what we think is supposed to happen. Yeah.
I hear you. Thank you.
How do you feel about your creative stuff? How do you feel about your projects?
I feel more excited than I have in a while, and I feel like I'm on the verge of something. Um, and I have like believed in myself and my abilities and skills and vision as an artist for a long time, but I can't think of anything else in my life that I've had more resistance to consistently practicing. It's like I'm afraid of how much potential is there and how
And like you're exposing yourself, you're having to be vulnerable, like you're creating and then presenting it to the world. Like I get that, man. It's a scary thing. Um, maybe let's have you do some materialization breath, but like on your creative process or just the whatever, however you're expressing it, whatever the medium, you know. Let me think about this for a second. Yeah. Um, do the materialization breath with spikenard. Like visualize your creative process and everything. And the reason spikenard is, yes, it's soothing, yes, it's grounding, yes, it helps reduce pain somewhat, yes, it's purifying, but it helps you when you look at it from the point of view of the prefrontal cortex, and then when you look at it from the point of view of behaviors and instinctive responses. It helps you to stand in the place where you can be a little bit more vulnerable. And probably for most people that are creative, that is the biggest struggle, is the being able to stand in the vulnerability and create. Because talk about abandonment. There's the abandonment, and then there's putting your heart and soul in something, and then showing it to people and going, what do you think of this? You don't know if they're gonna like it or not like it or get it, understand it, whatever. Talk about vulnerability. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Let me know how that goes. Start exploring it and think of it more like playing than like I have to do this. Like even if it's just 5 minutes, I'm just gonna play with thinking of create, my creative processes, and I'm gonna do this for 5 minutes, and then if it goes longer, great. But if there's if it feels like work, you won't do it. So just let it be almost like a little bit more playful. Like, yeah, I'm gonna sit down. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. And then just see how it goes.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And then go ahead, Ralph, and then we have a handful of questions in chat. If we
Hey, Ralph.
Hey, Greg.
Hey.
Um, ran into a period today where I was grinding on myself pretty hard.
Oh.
So I just grabbed the first thing that was available, which happened to be Melissa.
Oh,
But
how'd that go?
that went pretty well.
Good.
It didn't go away in a hurry, but it went pretty well. So if a person is grinding on themselves, what would you recommend, or is it person
Did something
specific?
happen or it just kind of
Seemed
rose
to come
up?
seemed to come out of nowhere.
Yeah. Kind of going around, huh?
I have to say, I know that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting. It makes me wonder. Several people have said the same thing over the last like 36 hours.
Well, but with everything else that's going on in the universe at this point, I'm not
Yeah.
too surprised.
Yeah. Let me think about this for you for a second. Do you have astral projection?
I'll have to look it up on my list.
Is it in the arc and somatic programming or generational healing?
It might be in generationally. You look your way, I'll look mine.
I'm looking at my
Yeah,
list
it's in the
now.
generational healing class.
Okay.
I think you have that, right?
Yeah,
Jeff?
you had that class, right?
Yes.
Or no, I said ginger, like astral
Astral.
projection. I'm wrong. It's not in there. I just looked up ginger lily. We're looking.
Mechanics of Light class.
Yes. Great. Generational healing has got astral projection in it.
It does?
Yes.
Okay. So let's have you use that. And let's
Okay.
have you use it. Let's have you use it on the sex chakra, back heart, back throat, and crown. Actually, let's have you go, after you go from the back throat, go to the brain, and then eventually just kind of shift to the crown.
Brain and then flow up to the crown.
Like go sex, back heart, back throat,
Mhm.
brain, and then just float it into the crown.
Okay.
Yeah. Do that several times. The thing here is that's nice with astral projection is, for one, it's transmuting, but it's breaking emotional patterns.
Mhm.
And sometimes the emotional patterns are in us, but sometimes the emotional patterns are in the environment.
Yep.
And I would say that, given what we've seen over the last couple days, there's a good piece of it that is probably more environmental than collective unconscious, social, the flux in the world, whatever it is. But it's probably a little bit more of that.
Mhm.
And with everything kind of moving the way that it is, all those buttons and triggers that we have for various reasons, they get a little more exposed, and they get a little bit more sensitive. And I would
Yeah.
say maybe a little bit of that. I
Okay.
don't know that you're having some big issue come up, but I think that uh, something in the environment is triggering.
Okay.
Yeah.
All
I
right.
mean, if you think about like what you were saying, like when the industry changed in your world, it made you feel a certain way about yourself, be
Mhm.
it conscious or unconscious.
Yeah.
And it feels like the world is changing. You know what I mean? Like,
Well, right now, yes, it is. Yeah.
yeah.
The
So,
energies that are hitting the planet right now from
yeah,
a cosmic standpoint are things that have not been around here for yay
very long
many
time.
thousands of years.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
your bodies, our family bodies have not evolved over the past,
Right, right,
let's say 3,000 years at least to
right.
deal with these things that are hitting the planet right now. I
And,
mean,
and so
I used to build satellites for Ford Aerospace, and we had, when they tested the satellites, they would shoot them with these rays that were, typically held out by the Earth's magnetic field. Well, the Earth's magnetic field is collapsing right now, and all those rays that used to be out there are now on the planet.
wow.
And at that point, the standing order was, when we're testing, human beings do not go into this room, because human beings will
Wow.
get sick or go crazy.
Right.
All right. And now all that
Wow.
stuff's hitting the planet.
Wow, wow, wow.
So yeah,
That's crazy.
that was nuts.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll run the astral projection.
See if that
Yeah.
helps. And if that doesn't help, like within a couple of days, let us know and we'll look at something else.
Okay. All right. I'll see you in the class this weekend.
Okay.
And we're already past 9, but Deborah's,
Yeah.
yeah, go
Hey,
ahead,
hey.
Deborah.
Hi, sorry, I had to unmute. So, just real quickly, like what he's talking about experiencing, I experience it frequently. And I'm really experiencing right now. It was like, there was like a light switch that went off. And since then it's like, sometimes I don't even know who I am, that I'm behaving in ways. And I know it's not me. I know it's stuff in the environment.
Mhm.
I don't have astral projection. Is there anything else?
Do you have ginger lily?
I have to look for it. I had ginger lily and I lost it because I was carrying it with me as I was hiking and doing a walking meditation. But that I think I only had one and I lost it. So if I don't have ginger lily, I guess I need to order the astral projection. But is there anything in the meantime? Because I am like pulling my hair out with, because then I start really beating myself up.
If I remember right, didn't you get a bottle of that King of Pain?
I have King of Pain, yes.
Why don't you use that?
And in what way?
Um,
Like make a tincture and just put it all over me?
Probably a pattern. Let me look at you for a second here. Okay, so for you, this is what I like. Do your throat minor, your back throat, your temples, or excuse me, your jaws, then your temples, then your back head, and then your forehead. And then after you do it, like be still for a couple minutes and then cycle through it again.
That was throat minor, and then I missed a little bit in the middle, and then I got the end of it. Sorry.
So I did post it in chat.
We
Okay,
just
good.
posted it for you.
I'll get there.
Yeah.
All right. So thank you very much for that. And I loved, I got a lot from what you told Troy. Some of
Yeah.
that applied to me. So thank you so much for
Yeah,
sharing.
you're so welcome. Like,
Yeah.
you know, I think it's a thing that we all go through sometimes, you know. You know, we have phases in our life. You know what I mean? And they're not just always about age, but they're just like we have these things that happen and then they go away. I mean, it's divine intelligence, but being able to harness that, and it's a little bit of a rough one. And you know, I think, you know, I don't know, I've always had my struggles with it, but as time goes by, I get better, but then there's times where I'm not, you know what I mean? It's just, I think it's a thing that everybody kind of struggles with. But the more that we can be aware and do things with intention, we can really come out of it in a much better place, or harness something and really come out of it much stronger, much better. You know. Yeah.
And then we have some chat.
Yeah,
Is
yeah.
that
Let's
okay?
yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So what oils would help the body deal with sugar if I eat too much?
Just the effects of sugar or craving sugar, or
So I'll let them answer that, but they did also add black cumin. Anything else? I eat way too much and I'm on a sugar high. And then they're saying the effects.
the effects of sugar. I would probably go galbanum. Like, I know that sounds weird, but I think galbanum actually could be
And
helpful.
application.
I would either put it on the wrist, take it internal, and if you feel up to it, just do inhalations without a particular pattern. If you wanted to add another place to put it, still put it on your wrist, but put it on also the bottoms of your feet. But give that a shot. Yeah. The galbanum, I think, will help with the effects of the sugar, but it also might even deal with not so much the cravings, but the tendencies that got you to the sugar.
He said, will do, thank you.
Yeah.
Done. And then someone had a share and they said, oh, let me find it. Sorry, guys. Few questions in here too. Okay, sorry. Okay. I got dried out in my eyes, nose during air travel. Monday, I wish I had brought schizandra with me. I didn't feel human until this afternoon.
Oh yeah. Flying will do that. Yeah.
What would help being pulled to eating sugar to deal with life and almost like an escape, like a drug addiction?
I would say, like, there's probably a little bit of fatigue there, and there's some stress. And so I would start by using things like spikenard, like how we do sometimes with the brain, the spine, brain spine, and brain soles of the feet combo. And I'd also put spikenard on the feet. I'd even take a couple drops of spikenard internally, just to try to reduce the stress response. The other thing that I like for that is larch. Also the blend bronchioles might do the trick. The blend unconscious, but a lot of times I just use larch by itself and inhale it with my awareness just on the lungs. Sometimes the lower torso, but it is calming to, like, the metabolic processes in the body. And sometimes because of whatever, we start to go into a little bit of a metabolic crisis. So it affects heart rate and blood pressure, but blood sugar, cravings, things like that. And larch is really good for calming stuff down. Not necessarily a treatment for blood sugar, not necessarily a treatment for craving, but those are there because of some sort of imbalance in the body. And so you're just trying to calm everything and stabilize everything. So that's what I would use for that.
Just so I don't lose, I'm just going to keep going. What should one do when overwhelmed with negative thoughts in the middle of the night?
Well, by negative
Oils,
thoughts. Is
specific
it
prayer.
about yourself, or is it about other people?
Everything, mostly myself.
Mm. Well, I mean, there's a couple of approaches, but I'd say that if those things are coming up, the first inclination is try to make them stop and go away, but they're coming up for a reason. And so I would say sit and just observe them, like stay focused on them. Like there might be something that you're trying to learn, but because it's tied into like negative, memories or negative thinking, that we might be pushing the potential message away. And so I would say be able to sit with it, and you can use an oil, or you can just sit and like focus on it until there's some expansion, and then feel it in the body, and then go back to the thoughts, watch it, focus it, and let the mind begin to expand, and then feel it in the body. And by going through and doing this back and forth, it will help you learn and problem solve whatever the issue is, so that it diminishes the potential for a reoccurring thought process or thought pattern.
And this is kind of maybe a part two, jumping on that.
Mhm.
Is there an oil and or a process to protect oneself before sleep against getting overwhelmed with negative thoughts?
I would still say doing that practice before you go to bed would probably be good. Hmm. Let me look at something here real quick. I would use vetiver. Like I would inhale vetiver. Inhale the vetiver with your awareness on the sex chakra. The sex chakra is going to impact like instinctive thoughts and processes, because most likely that's like things coming out of instinct or behavior. Some things are rising, and it will make you less reactive so that you can process it better.
Thank you. What do I use Idaho tansy tincture for?
The tincture, like
I don't know. It's
in the essential oil, like we don't make a tincture of it.
yeah, go ahead.
Hey,
Sorry, it took me a while because my buttons were all mixed up. So I have something, I thought it was a tincture, but it's Idaho Tansy Body Tonic.
oh, God, what class was that?
It was a long time ago and
It was a very long time. It was a couple of years ago, maybe.
maybe it's not even good anymore, but I
No,
started using it.
it's still good. Like,
Okay.
I would use it to, like, you can use it for a couple of different things, but I would say maybe use it just to detox the body and help the kidneys let things go. But one of the things that it's also good for is fear, like
Oh,
reducing fear. Yeah.
my intuition led me right because I've been throwing it on me every time I get out of the shower,
Oh,
all
good.
over my
Yeah,
body.
yeah,
Okay, cool. Thanks.
yeah. You're so lucky.
Try to get back to these here. Okay. Let's see. Okay, got that one. That one. What oils are good for depression? Listed on the website, you have cinnamon bark, cassia, St. John's wort, vetiver, rose, and ombrette. Would frankincense, myrrh, and angelica seed help as well?
Angelica might, sometimes sage would, but those are pretty the kind of the standards for treating depression. Do you have any of those or?
And what would the application be?
It depends on which one it is.
Okay,
Yeah,
they said, I think so. Sorry
yeah.
about that.
Maybe send us an email with what you have and I can give you instructions based on what you have. And does the depression feel like more physical, like you're fatigued, or there's something emotional, or you just feel like a little bit hopeless? Like, any
Oh.
ideas? All of it?
And then they do have cinnamon bark.
Yeah. Do you also have rose by chance?
A small little one.
Yeah, perfect. Take a little, like a drop or two of cinnamon bark, put it in water, definitely in water. Don't just put it on your tongue. Put it in a glass of water and then drink it daily, and then inhale the rose with your awareness on your back heart. Your back heart, and actually, let's have you also do your spleen. So left side of your body below the ribs.
And that's daily.
Yeah.
Generally, what are the blue oils used for? Is there a type category of issue that blue oils address?
Well, they're always good for inflammation, but each one does some slightly different things. So it depends on what you're trying to do. Calming, soothing, reducing inflammation, a lot of times even reducing some spasms. But like yarrow's a little bit better, antispasmodic. German chamomile, very good for increasing white blood cell production and cleaning up metabolic waste and stimulating your body's defenses, uh, immune wise. And then dark blue tansy, very good for reducing allergic responses. So it would depend.
And last question, what is the application for poplar balsam spray?
Spray it down the front of you. Yeah, yeah,
I think that was it.
yeah. So, well, thanks for joining us tonight and everything. I'm sorry we couldn't do it last night, but I'm glad that we got a chance to hang out tonight and hope that was helpful. And this coming up weekend is a free weekend for physical and psychological pain. So maybe you can join us. It's free. It will have a bunch of information that, it's based on some of the things we've already done, but it's upgraded with some of the classes that we've been doing and a little bit more straightforward in the approaches. So anyway, hope you can join.